Saturday baseball time. Saturday baseball. Lenny makes me get up early and do 10:30, even though I like noon better, but that's okay. I'll still have some more extra time during my day after this show. So anyway, let's talk some Saturday baseball. Today we're going to go over a couple of late round picks, like past pick 200, way past pick 200, that I think are great value right now in drafts. And that's not to say that they're going to stay that way, because, as the season gets closer, the players will move up, 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 up. But for now, there's some players that I think, we talk about this every week. It's pretty much like the only thing we have to talk about besides the Mets trade, which we'll talk about that. First, I want to talk about this whole debacle with the sticky substances and Brian Bubba Harkins, Brian Bubba Harkins getting fired and then suing the Angels for defamation of character. And he's kind of right, because they kind of it's like the Boston Red Sox. When they got in trouble, they blamed their video replay guy, and that poor guy took he basically took the blame for everything. He was the fall guy. And so, he's out of baseball, and the Boston Red Sox can push it off on him. Like he's the guy that initiated it. He's the guy that, did all the bad stuff. And it's kind of like this situation. This guy, Brian Harkins, they hired him in 1981. He's literally 30 years he's been doing this. And he said in his filing that all the pitchers, pretty much, he named Garrett Cole, he named Justin Verlander, he named a bunch of Angels, he named a lot of really good pitchers, and not just from the generation that we're in now, but since 1981, he's the one that's giving out this sticky substances to not only the Angels, but the visiting teams. He, in his filing, which I can't find, but I did do my best to find it yesterday. I searched everywhere for it. I can't find a copy of it, but the actual court filing talks about how let me see. Okay, Troy Percival, former Angels closer. He is the one that developed the substance that Harkins distributed, and he really did cite a whole ton of players. He showed text messages between him and Garrett Cole, talking about wink, wink, I need some I'm in a sticky situation, wink, wink. Verlander, after he got fired, Verlander texted him and he's like, buddy, I'm so sorry about what happened. We all really like you, you're always going to be our friend. But it brings up a couple questions for me. First of all, we know that MLB actually has been in labs developing their own sticky substance, right? So don't be surprised if MLB comes out with their own model of a sticky substance that pitchers can put on the ball legally, because they know it's happening anyway. So why not make some money off of it, right? Makes sense. But it's the point is, it's like when it comes to money, all the rules, all the values, all the morals, all the integrity goes out the window if you can make money. And we see it over and over. There's so many examples of it. Gambling is a good example of it. The way that they felt about daily fantasy, the way that they glommed onto investing in it, just all the sports, how they talk about, they like to virtue signal, but they're really not doing anything. But anyway, okay. So back to this story. Baseball did not want this to come out at all. But they've known about it, and that's the point. Baseball's known and has evidence of this happening for the last 100 years. I'm sure it's been happening as long as we can remember. Even you, George, even you. Just kidding. George likes to make fun of Lenny's age, so I'll make fun of George's age too, because George is actually not that much younger than Lenny. But anyway, okay. So when these pitchers go to Houston, this guy says in one of the articles that I read, he says that they're actually using this as a way to get pitchers to come and sign with teams. Like, of course, the analytics, they kind of put it all under the same umbrella, which, we say, isn't that interesting that these teams that we say are so great with analytics and they're like way ahead of everybody else, and they're using these different monitoring machines and stuff like that, that Bauer uses, and all of this Rapsodo machines and all of these, they're like way ahead of the rest of the pack. Well, maybe in reality, it's not really that. Maybe they're just that much further ahead of the pack in the ability to cheat. Like, they've figured out what works while other teams are lagging behind. And I really do think that there's a lot to be said about the level of analytics that a team is using and the amount. I mean, you can't ignore the fact that when pitchers go to Houston, I'm not saying that Garrett Cole wasn't going to be better, because he was going to be better, because he comes from Pittsburgh, the worst pitching team in baseball, pretty much, and when you leave there, you're going to be a better pitcher, right? Houston's a better team. Why are they a better team? Why? Well, the spin rate goes up immensely when you go there. And I don't even care. Like, I'm cool with using a sticky substances. In fact, I think that batters are fine with it too, especially in cold weather. They want the pitcher to have a good grip on the ball. They don't want to get hit in the head by a 100-mile-an-hour fastball because it slipped out of a pitcher's hand. So everybody's on board. Everybody's like silently going along with it. And while MLB is making their own sticky substance to use in the future, it's illegal, but nobody ever bothers to do anything about it. So that's why I think Bauer decided, what the hell, my career is only so long. And I know what I have. I know my stuff. And I also know and have proven that when you use a sticky substance, your spin rate goes up really substantially, a good percentage. Why am I the only one not using it? Like, why am I the only one not using sticky substance? So then his spin rate all of a sudden goes up last year. I'm not knocking him. I just think that we shouldn't overlook the obvious here, right? Everybody loves to point out the fact that he faced a bunch of crappy teams, and he did face a bunch of crappy teams, but that's really, why don't we talk about the elephant in the room, or the skeletons in the closet, or whatever you want to say, okay? All I know is that his spin rate went up, and he says straight up when he was talking about Houston a couple years ago, he said, there's no way to get your spin rate up besides using sticky substances. He's been trying it for the last 10 years and it hasn't worked. So now baseball's in a position where, and you know what? More power to this guy. Okay. We have a friend named Gary Harkins. So I keep wanting to call this guy Gary Harkins because that's our friend. His name is Brian Bubba Harkins. Poor guy's been in baseball since 1981. All of a sudden, you need somebody to blame. The shit rolls downhill. Go ahead and blame some little puny guy that nobody cares about. And, this guy has produced hard evidence of what's going on in baseball and the fact that MLB's known about it all this time. That's all I want to say for that. But let me check the chat room and see how we're doing this morning in the chat room. See what my friends are saying. Good morning, Leonard. Good morning, Dan. Nice to see you, buddy. You're up early today. George is going to sue his wife for defamation of character. I don't think you can sue your wife for that. I don't think so, but good luck with that. Jay Hoff, good morning. Hoffman, Jeff Hoffman, is this who this is? Jeff Hoffman? Good morning, dude. Okay, Al Cola's here. Look at all my friends here today. Nice to see everybody. I could tell it's baseball season now. Football is pretty much over for fantasy, and now we're talking baseball. I always talk baseball. Does this guy Harkins have a brother? Yes, I think he's your boss, actually. Just kidding. It's not your boss. We've already done. Hi, the Jeff Hoffman. So nice to see you here. Okay, so what do you guys think about what do you think about this? I don't see any. Douglas Boyle, what do you think about it? I know you have an opinion about this. Should MLB just allow sticky substances, since everybody's doing it anyway, and nobody's calling each other out because they know they can't call the other team out when they know their own pitchers are doing it? So what's the point? Then guys like this who've been in baseball since 1981 are losing their career, their livelihood over something that everybody's doing, and it's not just him. But he said that I felt it was interesting that he said that the former closer for the Angels actually came up with this substance, put it together, and like that's what everybody uses. You would think that the guy would only give it to his own team, but he's like literally he's like the MLB local drug dealer. and he's not going to. This Garrett Cole was like, I'm not going to be pitching in LA and Anaheim for several months, and I need something before that. I don't know how they get it to you or how it worked, but bottom line, he was supplying the entire league. The best pitchers in baseball are using it. That's all there is to it. So let's just accept the fact that they're using it and let them use it. And while you're at it, go ahead and just let them do whatever they got to do. They're already doing it anyway. So let's talk about the Mets getting Lindor. Of course, that's a big deal. I don't want to go into we're only going to go in one specific direction today, and that is we're going to talk about Amed Rosario and Andres Gimenez. Because they both go to Cleveland, which is very intriguing to me because, there was an image put up, a quote by Steve Cohen earlier this year or late last year. It was an image and it had select Mets in this image. Everybody on the team talking, and it has a Steve Cohen quote that says, "You build champions, you don't buy them." And we have a great core on this team. So basically the people in the image are the core of the team. And Amed Rosario was not in this image. And so then Amed Rosario, we don't know for sure that it had anything to do with this image, but I would assume it had something to do with this image since a couple of days later, he took all of the images that had anything to do with the Mets off of his Instagram. Every Mets, right? Doesn't even say that he plays for the Mets anymore. So we saw that, we noted it, during that time. Obviously, he knew he was on the trade block. Well, guess who else was in the picture? It was Andres Gimenez was in the picture. So they both play the same position. And it's okay, obviously he's been replaced by this cat. Well, now they both get traded to Cleveland. So now Amed Rosario, I hope they like each other. There's got to be some animosity as far as Amed Rosario, how he feels about this other guy. He's brand new. Amed Rosario is 25. Andres Gimenez is 23. And getting replaced by this youngster and then having him get traded with you to Cleveland. Well, okay. Can they both start? Yeah, they both can start. They both have a spot. One can play shortstop. One can play second base. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about the fantasy value going into 2021 with these two Mets. And of course, the first question is, does Amed Rosario actually gain fantasy value at this point? Well, he was actually, he wasn't bad in 2019. We saw some improvement with him. We know that he runs fast. Last year, he attempted one stolen base, I think, and he was unsuccessful. Bottom line, he had no stolen bases in 2020. And even if you're a nice, even if you're want to be soft on him, you could say, okay, 2020, I'm not really counting those stats. Lots of stuff going on in the background, crazy times that we're in, and you could give him a pass. But there's certain things about Amed Rosario that make you wonder, and will he be able to, maybe he didn't fit in with the Mets. Maybe the new fresh start is going to get his legs running again and all of this, okay? He's going 356 overall on average at NFBC, and the earliest he's gone is 205, which please don't even think of that. I'm really hesitant to even draft him at 356. That's about around 27 or 28. In 2019, he had a good year. That might be his career year. We don't really know. Like I said, he's only 25, and he'll be 25 through the entire season, this coming season. He hit 287 in 2019 with a 323 on base percentage, 15 home runs, and 19 stolen bases. That's great. Everybody entered last year thinking that he was going to just even improve on that, but he lost his job basically. And his success rate on the base paths is not good. He stole 43 bases in 64 attempts between 2018 and 2019. So that's, 43 bases and 64 tries. That's 20 times he got caught stealing out of 60. So a third of the time he's getting caught. They don't let you run after a while. If you're getting caught a third of the time, they just don't let you run. I just don't think it's a great success rate. So then last year he had a career low OPS. He had a 252 batting average. They were thinking about putting him into center field so that he could actually get playing time and not sit on the bench. But now they don't have to worry about it because he's gone. Now, what are the Mets going to do for a middle infielder right there? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But I say you can play Amed Rosario if you insist only in DFS when he's facing a left-handed pitcher, because he's very good against lefties, and he does typically, or with the Mets he did anyway, bat at the top of the order when they're facing a lefty. However, the rest of the time he's going to be batting at the bottom of the order most likely. And we don't know that for sure because Cleveland is a different situation. But if he continues the way that he is, which all of his history says that he will, he's going to be at the bottom of the order most of the time. That does matter in fantasy. His ceiling is not that high. He's never really been a great hitter. He just hasn't. And so it's one of those where now you're relying on just speed. And if the guy's not going to attempt to steal, and when he does attempt, he fails, how much are they going to let him run? Okay, moving on. I mean, the one good thing about Amed Rosario is a fresh start. And we did see potential in 2019. We know that he can hit for a little bit of power, and he can definitely run. We'll see what happens. DFS against lefties, that's about as far as I go with him, no matter, even if he is going to fall to round 30 in fantasy. Okay, Andres Jimenez. He's going 197th overall. Let me do a quick math. 16, round 16. Is he worth round 16? That's quite early. I don't know, but the latest he's gone is 257. That's going to be in the round 20 probably. This guy last year he played 19 times at second base. He played 10 times at third base, 23 times at shortstop. Look at the position eligibility here. This is amazing position eligibility, which it does count for something. Everybody has their own sense of how much it matters, and I guess it would depend on your league and how deep the free agent pool is, but that definitely says something. And he played 49 out of 60 games last year. He's 23 years old, so he's very young. He never even made it. He never played in AAA, so he jumped straight from AA to the majors. He was successful 8 of 9 times last year when he attempted to steal bases, and his contact rate is the one thing that I did notice. And like, this is somewhat of a small sample size, but it's as big as you're going to expect from anybody, because he played almost all the games, 49 out of 60 games. He was able to keep his contact rate right where it was at the minor league level, even though he skipped AAA. He was able to keep his strikeout rate the same as it was in the minors, even though he skipped AAA. So his strikeout rate is 21%, which used to be like a death wish, but now it is totally acceptable in Major League Baseball. And the 76% contact rate is fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I see no reason why this guy will not continue to get better instead of Amed Rosario, who is continuing to flounder. And again, the fact that Amed Rosario pretty much lost his job last year to this youngster, it does something to the mindset. It really does something to your motivation level, your ability to be consistent, and everyday playing time does matter. I just think it's really crazy and kind of funny that this Amed Rosario cannot get rid of this little guy. He cannot get rid of him. He's like haunted by this guy. Okay. He could steal 25 bases. Okay. I don't foresee him hitting a ton of home runs. He has a way better chance of moving up in the draft or in the batting order than his buddy. Let's talk about Cleveland on the other hand. Cleveland gets these two and a couple of other youngsters, 2 other prospects. It says that they were 2 of the Mets' top 10 prospects, which I don't know if that says much, because I don't think the Mets have a great farm system anyway. But Cleveland they have Jake Bauers listed as their starting first baseman. Jake Bauers. That's true story. I don't know what the Cleveland Indians are doing, but obviously they said they needed to shed payroll. They had $67 million worth of payroll. Really? Now they're going to have like $45 million. They enter the season right now with $45 million payroll. There should be punishment for that. You have a punishment for spending too much money. You need a punishment for spending not enough money. because every year we see teams that are better off tanking than they are to compete. Cleveland has never, I mean, I don't recall them really ever tanking like completely. But by the looks of what they have on their roster this year, they're offensively at least, okay, they have a Franmil Reyes who can barely even, he's DH. Thank goodness they have a DH spot because he can't play defense. Plus, he hasn't proven that he can hit on any consistent basis. They have Jose Ramirez. Okay, great, good for you. And they have Roberto Perez, who's a great catcher and great defensive catcher. But besides that, they are rolling with a crappy team. There's no way their offense can keep up with any team in baseball. They have the worst offense I've seen. It's worse than any other team to me. And I mean, maybe there's somebody that I'm overlooking, some team I'm overlooking, but Miami has a better offense by far. Baltimore has a better offense. Even the Pirates. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, they're tanking, but they have Shane Bieber, right? What are they going to do with Shane Bieber? Zach Plesac. Does that mean that you don't draft Zach Plesac as high as you normally would have because of the fact that Cleveland can't score runs? No matter, I mean, there's no way to argue against that. They have Jake Bauers as their first baseman. This guy's horrible defensively. He's hit 205 in the last couple seasons. Last year, he did so bad in spring training that they sent him to the whatever they called the squad that they had, the practice squad. This guy was sent down before COVID even delayed the season. He had no spot on the bench. He has no business being in the major leagues because he's horrible. It's just okay. They have Oscar Mercado. What do you guys think of Oscar Mercado? Oscar Mercado hasn't been any. It's funny. I remember when Oscar Mercado came up, and it was him and Austin Riley, and I want to say Nick Senzel. There was like 4 youngsters that got promoted all at the same time. It was in the middle of the season, and it was like the last prospect call up, week of it was it. You were going to spend your free agent money on somebody. So it was Oscar Mercado. There's another stolen base guy that I can't put together right now. Anyway, Mercado is what he can't. He is 20. He's going to be 26 years old this year. He hasn't done anything that's worthy of talking about. He played in 36 games last year. He hit 128. He stole 3 bases. That's it. 3 bases. This guy in Double-A in 2017, he stole 38 bases. He stole 50 bases in 2015 at Single-A. He stole 33 in 2016 and 31 in 2018. Actually, in 2018, he played twice. He got traded. That's why he played for AAA twice. But anyway, he stole 37 bases that year. 37 bases in 2018. In 2019, he stole 30 bases. But guess what? Oscar Mercado is not getting any younger. That's for sure. He's 26. He's going to be 26 the entire 2021 season, but he's not getting younger. And stolen bases do not get increased. They just don't. At this age, they're not going to. So the fact that he stole 3 bases last year in 93 plate appearances that's 9 bases if you average it out over a full season. It's horrible. He doesn't get caught stealing too much, but the bottom line, he has not done anything to merit everyday play I don't know, just Cleveland. I've never seen him tank like this. Josh Naylor, okay, is their left fielder. Daniel Johnson is there. Looks like their right fielder. I don't know what the hell, dude. The Indians are absolutely, look at this guy. Daniel Johnson batted 083, dude, in 2020. He only had 13 plate appearances, but he's horrible. He's horrible. They suck. There's nothing good to say about the Indians except for the fact that they have good pitching. They always have had good pitching, but there has to be some kind of penalty for these baseball teams. $45 million, really? That's what you're going to Okay, Bauer is going to cost $45 million. I mean, I'm exaggerating Bauer, but for real, think about it. One player costs that much money. And they know they can't compete with the Twins or the White Sox. So, I mean, do you blame them? When there's no penalty, why not? Just why not? Okay, going back to the notes, moving on. Let's talk about Garrett Cooper. He is 30 years old. That's his only downfall. 30 years old, big deal. 361 ADP right now. The earliest he's gone is 287, and the latest is 485. 485 for Garrett Cooper. Can you imagine? And by the way, I narrowed down the average draft position by just December to now. So it's the most recent ADP. I don't really like using all of the full, they go all the way back. It goes all the way back to October, but I say the most current, the better for me. So if you're looking at ADP and you see it different than what I'm telling you, that's because I narrowed it down from December 1st to current. Now, okay, ADP for Garrett Cooper, Miami guy. Maybe that's why. Corey Dickerson is also way down there on the list. I wonder if he might be a little bit older. But Corey Dickerson is, come on, man. He's boring, but he's something. He totally is worthy of a late round pick. So I was reading in the Baseball Forecaster, and it said that the end game is really not to find profit. It's to avoid loss. So boring guys late end game picks. I think that's true. And I understand the excitement for high, like potential. A lot of times people are like, oh, well, the highest potential. I say that is probably somewhat true. I guess it just depends on what you need at that point in the draft. So it matters so much what you need at that point in the draft. You really have to be able to look at your team and say, okay, I have too many bad average players. Like I need to make up for batting average, or I need to make up for lack of stolen bases. It's so important. That's why keeping track of your category targets and keeping track of what you have and what you're working with on your team is the only way to know who to draft in game. So no matter what anybody tells you about high ceiling, low floor, whatever, like avoid loss, shoot for trying to get the most value or whatever they say, it all depends on the construct of your team at that time. And that's it. There's nothing else that matters. So, last year we saw some really late round batting average guys that would be able to actually boost your batting average if you get stuck in a situation where you have too many, I don't know, who's a good example of a crappy batting average and like lots of power and RBIs. They're all over the place, by the way. So the chances of you ending up in that situation where you have a batting average that you need to increase somehow, overall, then that's who you target, Daniel Murphy or like someone, like that. So Garrett Cooper, by the way, this guy, I originally started this show notes putting together, I thought, oh, you know what I'm going to talk about today? The guys with the highest contact rate. The ones with the highest contact rate that are being overlooked in drafts. I think that's an important statistic to look at, because if you make contact, you really, I don't know, it kind of engulfs the whole batting. Like, so everybody can look at all the different batting stats, but really what it comes, if you're not hitting the ball, making contact with the ball, then that's a bad thing. Kind of hard to get a decent batting average, or it's kind of hard to get a lot of home runs, or it's kind of hard to get on base when you're not making contact. Okay, so anyway, Garrett Cooper, he hits the ball super hard. I think he's in the 95th percentile as far as like how hard he hits the ball, but he doesn't hit the ball hard often enough. Hopefully he'll work on that, but the max is 110 miles an hour, average is 85 miles an hour exit velocity. And the percentage of hits that are above 95 miles an hour is 27%, 27.7. Anyway, he had COVID last year, so he didn't impress too much in the stats, but he absolutely showed that he can hit for a good batting average. He had COVID. He hit 6 home runs. He hit 283. He had a career low strikeout rate last year, so we can see that he's improving every year on his strikeout rate. In fact, 2017 is when he first came up. In 2018, he had a 31.6% strikeout rate. And then in 2019, he had 26%. And last year, he had 23%. So we're definitely seeing that go in the right direction. And he doesn't take a lot of walks, but he takes a walk every once in a while. Like, not that often, but okay. He had a career high 90.1 mile per hour exit velocity, leading to a 304 expected batting average that says that whatever expected batting average is supposed to tell you. Okay, bottom line, it's all about contact. The contact. He makes decent contact. He hasn't played a lot in the major leagues. That's why he's going so late in drafts. He's kind of like under the radar for sure, playing in Miami and stuff, but he hits lefties and righties the same. He doesn't have massive splits. He expected batting average in the 95th percentile and slugging in the 87th percentile. That's expected slugging, expected batting average. For his career, his expected average is 277 with a slugging of 467. So he signed a year contract he did sign with the Marlins for one season, 1.8 million, but also they signed Jesus Aguilar, which leads me to wonder that's the question about this guy. If there's no DH in the National League and Jesus Aguilar is hitting too, Jesus Aguilar is like the more flashy of the two. Obviously, he can hit lots of power too, but I wonder if there's no DH in the National League, which I can't believe they haven't told us yet, if there's going to be. I think it's ridiculous if they haven't told us yet. He should have pretty close to everyday playing time. He also should hit in the middle of the order, which is always a great thing. And so there you go for Garrett Cooper. And the next guy on the list is Sam Huff, a catcher in Texas, who hits the ball really hard. And by the way, his strikeout rate is it's horrible. And his batting average is likely going to be horrible. But let's get the bad news out of the way before we talk about the fact that the catcher position is, it's notorious for having a bad batting average. And so it's almost like you can kind of accept it from maybe one of your catchers. But the other good thing about this is that the catching pool, the pool of catchers this year, seems that there are actually more hitters, more catchers to choose from that can keep your batting average up. So you can, you might have a catcher that hits 210, and then you have another catcher. Hopefully you draft a catcher that will hit 270, 280, and that will even out your problems there with the batting average. And I just think, okay, Sam Huff, he's going at NFBC, he's going 355 overall. The earliest is 278. The latest is 430. So literally at 430, at pick 430, that's round like 38. And so most leagues definitely don't go that deep anyway. But this guy did not. Another kid that skipped, this guy actually skipped like the entire minor league system. He did not play at AA. He did not play he played at high A. That was his only experience. High A. He went from high A to the majors last year, and we know why, because their minor league system was not happening. So there was a lot of players that actually skipped a level or whatever. They wanted to keep them, active. And this guy came up. He actually hit 355 in the majors. Okay, but that's his batting average on balls in play was 471. So that is not sustainable. His contact rate is 64.5, and it's been like that. Well, okay, look, I just told you that he skipped like the entire minor league system, but he did play several years after getting signed. He played high A is the highest, but even in high A, his contact rate was in the 60s. It's not probably going to get much higher than what it was last year. His strikeout rate should go down a little bit, but I'm not expecting it to go down a ton, even with experience at the major league level, because he struck out a ton in the minors too. This guy is a total, let me check to make sure I'm right here. I'm pretty sure he's a 3 true outcome hitter. He's going to smash home runs, though, I'll tell you that much. He's going to smash home runs. Last year when he came up, first cup of tea in the majors, he played 10 games, 33 plate appearances, 3 home runs, 4 RBIs. I told you he hit 355. Don't even ever expect that out of him again. But the RotoWire has him projected for 15 homers and 286 at bats. That's about, they're expecting him to play about half the season. But here's the deal too. Jose Trevino is listed as the starting catcher in Texas. Jose Trevino is out. First of all, he's had a broken wrist or something like that. The only reason that he's listed as the starting catcher in Texas is because Jeff Mathis went to free agency, and Isaiah Kiner Falefa, or the guy, he's going to be playing offense now. He's going to be playing out in the field. So that was just by default that Jose Trevino is listed as the starting catcher in Texas. The ballpark is not great, but when you have as much power as this kid has, then you're probably going to hit it out of the ballpark no matter where. And if he is even remotely good behind the plate defensively, there's a good chance that he's going to get more at-bats, more plate appearances than what we even have him projected for at RotoWire, which is 305 plate appearances and 286 at-bats. They have him projected to play 81 games, half the season. It depends on how he does, but there's an opportunity for this guy. And obviously he's going to be a super late pick in a 2-catcher league. I would definitely, if you run out of options, this is somebody to look at. There's a couple other young catchers too that are worth looking at. We'll get into those a different time. His average exit velocity, 40% of his hits are above 95% or 95 miles an hour exit velocity. 40.6% of his hits are above 95 miles an hour exit velocity. There you go, okay? So it says that he took advantage of his first opportunity to flash his power in the big leagues. He's 6'4". He weighs 250 pounds. Don't even ask me how he kneels behind the plate. Don't even ask me how he does it. Like, 6'4", 250 pounds, your knees are just shot. But his power is real. He had 28 home runs between 2 minor league levels, but they don't say, like, this is not high A. It was high A. It was not double A, triple A, none of that. 2018. He has a career 29.7% strikeout rate. I already told you that. And his lack of contact makes for a low batting average floor. Whatever. He's a catcher, so it is what it is. I told you about all of this stuff, so we'll see what happens. Watch Huff in the spring. If you have a 2-catcher league, it's a great late target if you wait too long to get catchers, and that's that. So let's talk about Edwin Rios. Dodgers, third baseman. Actually listed as the Dodgers starting third baseman right now. He's 27 years old. His ADP is 324. That's round 27 at NFBC. And the earliest that he's going is 217, and the latest is 450. Edwin Rios is listed as the Dodgers starting third baseman right now with Chris Taylor in left field or something like that. So what does that do for – and this guy, I'm telling you right now, this guy, he hits the ball hard 50% of the time. The league average is like 35% of the time. This guy hits it hard 50% of the time. He's at his prime age, 27, okay, going into this season. This guy is going to go up the ADP like a madman. Now, at what point do you say, now he's going way too early for me? Because there is a point at where you say to yourself, like, this is too high. I don't know what it is, though. He had 83 plate appearances in 2020, and he hit 8 home runs. That's a lot of home runs. That's on average. I mean, that would average out to like 40 home runs. He's got definite power. His batting average is not horrible. It's 250. His contact percent is 76.3%. Last in 2019, when he came up to the majors for the very first time, he was a rookie. His contact rate fell to 55%. However, in the minor leagues over time, and he's visited every level at the minor league, so he's obviously taken all the steps that you need to get to the majors comfortably. Mid 70% contact rate. So, the fact that he was able to do that last year in the majors, says something good. His batting average on balls in play was actually 216, if you can believe that, which means that he was unlucky. Even though he has totally good numbers, he was still unlucky. I definitely like this guy, especially where he's going in drafts. If you find yourself in a spot, if you find yourself in a spot, you need a third baseman. This is what is this? 324th overall. That's round 27. How is this guy available in round 27? I don't know, but this might be my best guy of the day. This might be my best tidbit of the day. Edwin Rios in the Dodgers third base spot, starting third baseman for a great team with a great lineup surrounding him. Hits the ball really hard. Average exit velocity 87 miles an hour. His launch angle is fine, which tells you that, barrels. We're talking barrels here. Lots of fly balls. Improved his strikeout rate. Let's see what his strikeout rate is. Last year when he came up to the majors, well, in 2019, I say last year, but in 2019 in his first trip to the majors, 37% strikeout rate, which was high, okay, but it seemed like as he went up through the levels at the minor league level, his strikeout rate continued to rise. So it's good to see him drop down to 21.7% strikeout rate, right on target for what he did in the minors, basically. And I think that he is at his prime. Look, he's 27 years old this year. He's going to be, and they say that 27 is your athletic prime. This guy is totally secret, only to us. Don't tell anybody. He's going to be going up the average draft position. Everybody's going to be talking about him. I'm sure of it. He's just too good to go that late in drafts. We'll see what happens, but don't tell your friends. Okay, this is going to get out on its own, unfortunately. Okay, the next guy on the list is Pat Valaika. Good, I love it. All you guys are talking in the chat room, and I love it. Hi, Matt Hooper. Nice to see you. Big Al on the prowl. Good to see you, too. Douglas had to go. Chris Gallo is here. Nice to see you, Chris Gallo. Dale is here. Nice to see you. Unholy Toledo. Hi. Nice to see you guys, too. And anyway, Schwarber signed. Who did he sign with? I didn't see it. Bellinger. I don't know about Bellinger. I don't get to. Okay. Hi, George. Nice to see you, too. Okay. Pat Valaika. Do you like this guy? Pat Valaika, Baltimore Orioles. I know it's not a great team, and he's going 514 overall average draft position at NFBC. 514. Okay, that's round 50. And it's probably round 48 or something like that. Anyway, the earliest that he's gone is 375. The latest is 580. And, okay, let's talk about it for a second. Here's a guy like DJ LeMahieu, okay, because DJ LeMahieu had the same path as a Rockies hitter. You're supposed to hit great because you play in the best hitters park in baseball, okay? And that's the truth. It's funny that lately it seems like when these hitters leave Colorado, they're better hitter now that they're gone. And this is the situation with Valaika. He was hitting like 190 over 4 years he was with Colorado Rockies. He batted horrible. He actually batted worse the last 2 seasons before he got traded or before he went to Baltimore. I don't know for sure if he got traded or if he was a free agent and they signed him. I don't really know, but he hit 277 for Baltimore last year. He hit 8 home runs in 150 plate appearances, and he's projected by RotoWire to hit 22 home runs. Now, here's the best thing about this Pat Valaika. He played 13 times at first base, 13 times at second base, 4 times at third base, 24 times at shortstop, and 4 times in outfield. He plays everywhere. He is like Baltimore's utility guy, but the fact that he hits, the fact that he can get on base, or he showed last year he could get on base, he's gonna play. I've always had, like, I'm always searching for that utility guy like John Birdie, or like even back who was the last one that I used to like, that Josh something. What was his name? Josh Harrison. I believe it was Josh Harrison. He played all over the place. Do you remember this guy that played for every team too? I think he ended his career with Miami. He played first, second, and third base, and Lenny used to tease me for always wanting to draft him. Say it in the chat room who it is, Lenny. I think his name starts with a P. I want to say there's a P in his name. Anyway, okay, utility thing is it keeps players like on the DL, like on the down low, because when you look at depth charts, you don't see their name at a starting position, so it's easy to overlook these players. But if they hit, they are going to get a spot in the lineup because there's always somebody that needs a rest. There's always somebody that's hurt, and if they can play all over the place, I'm sorry, it's a great pick. Pat Valaika, where he's going in drafts, is absolutely a great late round end game pick. Will he hit 277 again? I doubt it. But his contact rate, you see, his contact rate even in Colorado was 75%, right? It went down to 57% in 2019. That was horrible. But last year it went right back to where it was before in previous years, which is 75%, 75.9%. Okay, he's 28 years old this year. Schwarber, Bell, and Soto. Washington signed. They will play him against righties only. Oh, that is true. That is true. I think he's got a split here, a problem. So here's another thing. Richie, I think his name is Richie. Richie Martin, Rule 5 pick, is listed as the starting shortstop in Baltimore right now. He had a surgery in June, and see, he was a Rule 5 player, so they were obligated to play him or they were going to lose him. But now, I mean, he hit 208 last year. He was horrible. He was given a chance to hit well. He did not play well. So I wonder if maybe they'll put this Pat Valaika in because I don't see how they can roll into the season with Richie Martin as their starting shortstop. However, I think that I read that there is definitely a split with this guy, and I don't have it here in the stats, but do look at that for sure. Let me look at this and we'll see. Lenny hates it when I do this, but it's okay. Valaika. Pat Valaika. Okay. Okay, against righties, he hits at the bottom of he hits in the bottom of the order no matter what. So, but yeah, no, there's not too much of a split. Not that I see anyway. Like last year, there wasn't a lot of a split. He hit 244 against righties, 256 against lefties. Maybe you're talking about Schwarber. I don't know. Maybe you're talking about someone else. It's my show. I'll do what I want. That's right. This is right. I'll do what I want, when I want. However, in 2019, he did have a significant split between lefties and righties. He did not hit righties very good. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But if they have nobody to play, right, if they have nobody else to – Richie Martin is not going to be any better no matter what side of the ball the pitchers. Schwarber. I don't know about Schwarber. I didn't even know he was signed. But let's take a look. Kyle Schwarber. Washington Nationals. That's pretty good. Okay, I like it. Washington Nationals. Okay, George put it in here. Or no, Lenny did. The Nationals have signed outfielder Kyle Schwarber to a 1-year contract. This poor guy never gets any kind of love. The Washington Post reported first the deal will be official once he passes his physical. He will earn $10 million from the 1-year deal. Okay. So what's he going to do? I don't know. Where's he going to play? Left field? Let's check it out. Left fielder. It looks like he's a left fielder. Juan Soto plays right field and Victor Robles plays center field. They have Josh Harrison. Look at that. Okay. They were entering this season as one of the oldest, the oldest players, the oldest team in baseball. Well, Seattle's the youngest team in baseball. You know what I mean? Like their players are the oldest. I don't know. But now it does. I don't know if that's still true or not. Kyle Schwarber, Josh Bell, these are not youngsters, but they're not, I don't think they're past expiring or anything. So Carter Kieboom is there. Starlin Castro's there. I think they're better than you guys think they are. Definitely. I won't even be surprised if they go out and get another pitcher. And I don't know what they need as far as hitting. It looks like they're pretty good hitting wise. They have Josh Bell at first base now. Juan Soto is one of the best players in baseball, might be the best player in baseball. I just don't see a problem with this team at all. Trey Turner, okay. Victor Robles has great potential, steals bases. They added Yan Gomes. I mean, I just don't see the problem with this team. I definitely think they're contending, and it's nice to see that they're trying, even after the Mets, make their moves. The Mets are still talking to George Springer. They're still talking. They're still making deals. It was nice to see them make a move too, because we used to talk all this crap about how you want to spend money and you're this and that. You give the baseball fans hope because every other team is broke. They say they're broke, but I heard today. I mean, first of all, the MLB teams are not that open with their books. They don't really ever even tell anybody. I don't think the management even knows. They just know what their budget is, but they don't actually know what the ownership makes in profit every year. But from what I heard off The Athletic, they said that the teams aren't really, even Atlanta actually made money last year. They weren't in the red. They made a lot less than they were supposed to make. They made a lot less than they expected to make, but they still turned a profit. How is that possible? I don't know how it's possible, but they did it. I trust what The Athletic is saying, and they did talk about the fact that the owners don't really open their books to anybody. And, when you don't be open about things, it kind of makes you look guilty of something. If you want people to believe you, then just show them. Like, if you're telling the truth, show them. MLB doesn't want to do that. So it gives me the inkling that they're not being as honest as they should be. They're always crying poor and stuff. Well, Cleveland's not poor. They're spending less on their whole team than they would spend on Trevor Bauer. I mean, that's exaggerating again. Anyway, so Schwarber signed with the Nationals. That's great news. Let's move on. We're moving on. We got maybe we're done. Let's see what we have next. Do you want to talk about Robbie Grossman, who was a free agent and now got signed by Oakland? I'm pretty sure Robbie Grossman. No, wait, it says Detroit Tigers. He's in the Detroit Tigers. Let me look at his. Definitely the Tigers. Okay, Robbie, wait, now it says, is he an Oakland Athletic or freaking? He was an Oakland Athletic. Now he's a Detroit Tigers. He just hasn't played there yet, but he's going to. He's a starting left fielder in Detroit. So what is it about this guy? Why do I bring up this guy? It looks like he has a horrible splits. He can't hit lefties. Okay, he will be in a platoon probably, if they have anybody to platoon him with. What did I even put him on here for? Good contact rate, 77% contact, strikes out less than 20% of the time, does take a walk 10% of the time. Definitely not going to hit against lefties if they have a choice. Veteran. He's 31 this year. They call, he's a veteran at 31. He's an old guy. He did only hit 240 last year. But he steals bases. He hits home runs. I mean, not at a great level, but still, he's actually projected to steal 22 bases and hit 22 home runs by RotoWire. No, that's a lie. That's what he would have done last year. So if you take last year's stats, I told you he hit 8 home runs and stole 8 bases. Average that out over a full season. That's 22-22. There's no way in hell he's going to do that next year. I just don't see it. I mean, we have enough sample size to say what Robbie Grossman is going to do. And the one thing about Robbie Grossman is that he's going so late, 457, and he's going to. So 457 overall at NFBC. The earliest is 325. Don't you dare draft him at 325. But the latest he's going is 550. And for a guy that has a job, it seems like he's the starting left fielder. So what do we think of him? If he can get on base, he does have decent fielding. Okay, he's decent defensively. And he does have, just don't put him up against lefties. So that's the thing. You can't really draft Robbie Grossman. I probably shouldn't have put him on my list, really, to be honest with you. But I added him there last minute. He's pretty ordinary. I guess the best thing you could say is that he did hit some last year. He did steal some bases, and he probably won't steal as many this year. So don't look forward to that. But maybe 15 home runs, like maybe 10 stolen bases, but you know, a handful is a handful. And on base percentage leagues, he's much better than an average league. So if you're an OBP, he had a career best 89 miles per hour exit velocity last year. So, I mean, when I say Sam Huff is hitting 89 miles an hour average exit velocity, and I say, you know, he hits the ball super hard, and you should target this guy, then why can't I should probably give Robbie Grossman the same type of love for hitting 89 mile an hour average exit velocity. But okay, moving on. Look at me. I don't know how I do this. It's like 4 minutes. In 4 minutes, I'm going to be in 4 minutes. It's going to be 1 hour, which is perfect timing for me. That's it. Okay, enjoy your Saturday. And tomorrow is Sunday. Tomorrow we will hope to see Douglas. We will definitely see George if he lives that long, which we're pretty sure he does. And that's at 6:30, the Roto Imbeciles. And, you know, if George ever calls you an imbecile in the chat room, it's not offensive. Actually, it's a compliment. And the other day we had an issue where I didn't know what caused this guy to be so upset. Like all of a sudden, you know, we have a guest in the chat room and he's fun, you know, he's talking with everybody and he actually complimented me. So I was, you know, of course I took that in right away and I was happy. And then George, I didn't see George say it, but George called him an imbecile, which is a Roto imbecile, which is a compliment. And I guess that's where the conversation went south, because then Unholy Toledo, we were all talking about the service industry and, you know, how athletes take care of their servers or their cab drivers, whatever, you know, the hospitality. And no matter what, if you've ever been in the hospitality industry, you know that like the local restaurants and people, they talk after work, they go for drinks and stuff. They talk about who tips, who doesn't tip. And we had in Portland, we had Scottie Pippen. We called him No Tippin' Pippen. And that was because he was just horrible. Like he would demand so much shit. By the way, they mostly like they're very demanding for the most part, even if they're nice. But most of them tip good, and so it's absolutely worth it. And it's great, you know, when they do tip good. But when they don't tip good, it goes around the town. So anyway, we were talking about that, and then this person in the chat room was like offended at it, and he was like, "It only matters what they do on the field, not what they do." And it's like, okay, buddy. So he was all upset, and then he ended up like leaving. And come to find out, it was someone that we know, but Lenny was the one that figured out where the conversation went south, because he actually didn't see what was happening in the chat room. He was doing the podcast at the time. And so he goes back and he looks at the history of the chat, and he can see like exactly where the attitude changed, you know? So then I'm like, you got to call George and tell him this. You got to tell him, because it's kind of funny, because he was like, until you get regulars that are nice to people, nobody's going to come to your chat room. And you know how it is. And you know what? I don't care if they do. I think that the crew that we have is good. And if people are so sensitive, then, you know, maybe it's just not right for them. So like, anyway, that was a funny situation. So thank you for coming, my friends and Roto Imbeciles. And we will see George tomorrow night, 6:30. And then Lenny, of course, on Monday. Everybody have a good weekend. And we'll talk to you later.